And welcome back to the weekly market recap, where we go over this week's market while keeping it as simple as possible. Now, the first thing we have to talk about this week is tariff wars, and tariff wars is still heating up in a major way. Then after that, we have to talk about major inflation data that the market been anticipating to hear how inflation is reporting. And finally, we're going to talk about a shiny asset that has been around for decades, having a hell of a year. So again, first we're going to get into trade wars, and trade wars has not been slowing down one bit in the last week. So first, the United States was putting a tariff on Canada for 25% from steel and aluminum. Then for some retaliation, Canada said they were going to put a 25% on imports from America on multiple USA goods. So the back and forth between USA and Canada is not stalling. And one thing that was very interesting was energy. So Canada actually provides energy to a lot of states in the Midwest, from Michigan all the way to New York. And Canada threatened that they will stop giving energy to us, and that will be a big deal. But again, we have to see how that unwinds. Another big tariff war is the United States and Europe. So the United States said they were going to put some tariff on Europe, and then Europe wanted to counter, and they said they're going to put a tariff on American whiskey. And Donald Trump told them if they go through with that tariff, the United States will put a 200% tariff on European wine. Now that is a big tariff, so you have to think about it. Let's say if you go to your liquor store of choice and you pick up a bottle of wine for the night, and it's usually $15. Well, you get to the counter and you ring it up, and that $15 turns to $45 for the bottle of wine. So again, that's a big difference. So we'll see exactly if those tariffs hold up or not. Now let's get into some major economic data this week for inflation. Now, inflation is a huge deal for the market. So the market was anticipating what these inflation numbers show. So first, we received CPI. CPI is the consumer's inflation gauge. So inflation for me and you. So the expectation for CPI was 2.9%. It actually came in at 2.8%. So that was really good, and it calmed the market down that inflation is going up. And then the next day, on Thursday, we received PPI. And PPI, again, is the inflation gauge for producers, so companies. And the expectation for PPI was 3.3%, and it came in at 3.2%. So you would think that the market rallied off that numbers, but if you look at the S&P 500 this week, on Wednesday we got the CPI. We did receive a bounce, but it was a small bounce. You would think we'd have a way bigger bounce from that, but Thursday, after receiving a good PPI, the market actually tanked and it went to the lowest it was this week. So you'll wonder, with those great inflation numbers, why did the market tank? And the reason being is because the market is not pricing in tariffs yet. So again, when we receive inflation numbers, this is for February, and the tariffs did not come into play yet. So the market's saying, yeah, inflation's going down, but what happens when these tariff actually goes into effect? Will these numbers be up or not? So we didn't receive that big of a bounce. So next month inflation numbers will be a must watch. Now, one asset that has been doing great this year has been gold. Gold hit $3,000, and that is a big deal. If you look at this chart above, you'll see that gold has been outperforming the S&P 500 by double this year. And remember, gold historically is a fear asset, so when the market's going down, people go to gold because it's a good hedge. Now, if we're going to talk about gold, we might as well talk about Bitcoin. So earlier this week, Bitcoin went down all the way to about 77,000. Now it's back up to about 84,000. So again, Bitcoin is volatile like always, but it's in between those range of 92,000 and 75,000. Now, this upcoming week is going to be a very important week for the markets. We have the Fed meeting. So we're going to see if the Fed is going to lower interest rates, and everybody's waiting and anticipating if that's going to be the case or not. And after the last couple weeks that the market has been crashing, again, like that chart I showed you, mid-March, we usually go back up. So we'll see if that's the case. And historically, St. Patrick's Day, that is on Monday, is usually one of the most greenest days of the month. So we'll see if we do go up or not on Monday. So it's a lot of moving parts, and if the market goes up, it will be interesting to see if gold goes down because fear is going away. So again, I will be with you guys next week, letting you guys know exactly what's going on. Hopefully you learned something. Again, this is the weekly market recap. I'll see you next week. Peace.